Are you able to survive on an ALT salary in Japan? Short answer, yes, but that depends on the kind of person you are, the lifestyle that you live, and if you're good with money or not. Here is the cost of living of a teacher of English in Japan. Let's get started.
My name is Upendanais Barasa. I moved to Japan to teach English from Kenya. If you're interested, subscribe. You don't want to miss it. Come on, join the bandwagon.
Obviously, the biggest expense is your apartment or rent. For mine, I pay 49,750,000 yen. I think that's an equivalent of 48 or 47,000 Kenya shillings, in USD around 400 US dollars, I guess. I will put everything on the screen. That happens to be my biggest expense as of now. But the one downside is you pay so much for a place that is very tiny when you can get better when you look for the apartment yourself. But it works since you're coming from overseas to Japan, you're new in the country, you're not able to find an apartment that you like yourself. So the company has taken it upon themselves to do it for you. And the kind of apartment that teachers live in Japan are called Leo Palace. It's not just teachers, but any foreigner really, because it's easier to get an apartment with them because they are foreigner friendly, which means that in Japan in general, it's very difficult for foreigners to find apartments on their own. Very, very, very tedious process if you ask me. But if you're coming from overseas, it's easier to just go with what the company, offers you, and then later you can change. The next expense is taxes. Taxes. If you live in a first world country, you know how much tax people pay. And in Japan, we do pay pension. We also pay health insurance. And we also pay another tax. What's it called? I forget, but it's not a lot. So in general, I pay 40,000 yen in taxes. That is an equivalent of 350 or 400 US dollars. Every conversion would be on the screen. Food. Yo, if you like to eat healthy, you're in big trouble. Let me prepare you. Because in Japan, fruits and vegetables are very expensive. A watermelon could go for as much as 60 US dollars, 50 US dollars. When in Kenya, a full watermelon could go for as little as 3 US dollars. Yeah. You'd buy 4 oranges for like 7 US dollars. Back home, one orange costs like 10 yen. Even that's like 10 cents in US dollars, to be quite honest. But this depends on your appetite, what kind of food you like. Do you like Japanese food? Do you like Western food? Do you eat out a lot? Personally, I don't like Japanese food, so my expenses come to about 20,000 yen a month. That's an equivalent of 200 US dollars, around 18,000 Kenya shillings. I do have to add though, if you're the kind of person that likes to eat out a lot, obviously your expenses might be higher. But if you cook at home, meal prepping especially, your expenses would be quite on the lower side. We move to utilities. Basically, utilities, Wi-Fi, that's Wi-Fi, water, electricity, and gas, and maybe your phone bill. But, with my company, when you come into the country, they ask you whether you want a SIM card or not. You sign up for a SIM card, and when you get into the country, you get it immediately. They also have phones if you want an extra phone to have your Japanese number line. They also offer that, and for that I pay 2,350, I think. 2,350,000. No, oh my God. I pay 2,350, which is an equivalent of around 15 or 20 USD. In Kenya shillings, almost similar to the yen. For my Wi-Fi, it's inclusive of rent. Therefore, I don't pay for Wi-Fi because it's included in my rent, which was 49,750. And then for gas, it does fluctuate, but it's one of my least expense, because it depends on how much you use the hot water and cooking as well. So for that, the minimum I have paid for it is 1,350. the maximum I have paid for it is around 3,500. For electricity, the least I have paid is 2,300, and then the most I have paid is around 7,000, and that depends with the season. Like, it's summer right now, which means my air conditioner is always running. It's always on at night, almost all day. Therefore, my bill is a lot higher. In winter as well, it's always very cold, so my aircon is always running as well, which means that in those two seasons, my bill is always high. But it's higher in summer, 7,000, around 7,000. Our last expense, at least for me, is transportation. I take the bus and train to school. Sometimes I walk, but on a monthly basis, I can spend between 20 to 25,000, depending on the number of working days, whether I walk or not. But you don't really have to think about transportation as much, because in Japan, there's a government rule that all companies have to cater for transportation of their workers, which means that at the end of every month, the company is going to reimburse the money that you've spent on transportation. So you can decide whether you want to cut or just use it as it is, but you can as well walk and save some of that money, because they will give you exactly how much you spend. So if you spend 30,000, at the end of the month with your salary, you will get 30,000. If you spend 40,000, that's what you will get. If you spend 18,000, that's what you will get. So for me, I never see it as an expense per se, because it's reimbursed. It's not like I'm spending it out of pocket. If it comes back, then find ways to save your transportation or minimize on it. Lastly, entertainment. To be honest, I don't go out a lot because I don't drink as well, which means clubbing is not something that I do, because I know that's where many people do tend to spend most of their money. If you like to travel, traveling in Japan is, the travel itself, getting to the place, is cheaper. But staying, I think accommodation is very expensive in Japan when it comes to travel. But at least on the Japanese salary, but if you're coming from abroad, probably it's more or less the same or cheaper for you. But if you are planning on traveling on the LT salary, it's a bit expensive. So I don't know what range to give travel as a form of entertainment. But general, if you like to go out and drink, I would say maybe 20,000 a month. I don't know. My kind of fun, if you're like me, I like to go out and eat maybe twice or thrice a month, and then I do a lot of shopping, like clothes. I'm into fashion, blah blah blah. So for that, I usually budget around 10,000 to 20,000, depending on the activity. If it's buying clothes, I do 20,000. If it's just eating out and having fun, maybe 10,000 a month. But you don't have to do that. Yeah, I guess that's it for the cost of living in Japan. If you calculate all that, it comes to around, I'll put the calculations on the screen, but you can be able to save, myself, I'm able to save around 100,000 every month, at least for my type of lifestyle, 100,000 per month. So if you put all that together, you can see how much you are able to save based on your lifestyle. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you again next week, same place, same time. Bye.